Someone told you to follow your passion. Probably someone with a microphone and a best-selling book and a net worth built entirely on telling people like you to follow their passion. They stood on a stage. They said it with conviction. They made it sound like a universal truth, like gravity, like something that just works if you believe hard enough. Follow your passion and the money will follow. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Find your purpose and everything falls into place. You heard it. You believed it. You spent years trying to find this mythical passion that was supposed to be hiding somewhere inside you, waiting to be discovered like a treasure chest buried under the right combination of self-reflection and journaling prompts. And you couldn't find it, so you assumed the problem was you. It wasn't you. The advice was garbage. Beautifully packaged, emotionally compelling, culturally reinforced garbage that has done more damage to more careers than any recession, any economic downturn, any market crash. Because recessions end. Bad advice lives forever. It gets passed from one generation to the next, from one motivational speaker to the next audience. From one graduation stage to the next class of 18-year-olds who walk into the world believing they need to find a feeling before they can build a life. Let's be honest about what follow your passion actually did to you. It made you wait for a feeling, wait for clarity, wait for the lightning bolt of purpose to strike and illuminate the one true path. While you waited, years passed, real years, years where you could have been building skills, creating value, gaining leverage, developing competence that actually leads to career satisfaction. Instead, you were journaling about your feelings, taking personality quizzes, reading another book about finding your why, attending another workshop about discovering your authentic self. And every year that passed without the revelation made you feel more broken, more behind, more convinced that everyone else had figured out the thing you couldn't figure out. Follow your passion isn't the only lie that kept you stuck. It's just the most famous one. There's a whole ecosystem of career lies that work together like a cage. Each bar looks reasonable on its own. Together, they trap you in paralysis, self-doubt, and a career that shrinks your life instead of expanding it. And nobody dismantles the cage because the people who built it are making too much money selling you the key. The numbers paint a brutal picture. Gallup's global workplace research consistently shows that the vast majority of workers worldwide are not engaged in their jobs. In some surveys, the number of actively disengaged workers, people who are miserable at work, and spreading that misery, is staggering. This is not a minority problem. This is the default outcome of a system that tells people to follow feelings instead of building capabilities. Billions of people going to work every day feeling empty, stuck, and confused. And the career advice industry's solution: more passion finding, more purpose workshops, more introspection. The same prescription that created the problem in the first place, sold back to you at a premium. This audiobook is different. No inspiration, no warm feelings, no gentle encouragement to look within. Instead, a systematic dismantling of every major lie that's been keeping you stuck, followed by a framework based on what actually works. Not what sounds good in a commencement speech. What actually builds careers that people find meaningful, financially rewarding, and sustainable over decades. 5 chapters. The passion lie and why it's the most expensive advice you ever received. The other lies that work alongside it to keep you paralyzed. What the research actually says about how career satisfaction develops. The specific skills and strategies that create options the passion myth never gave you. And the action plan that replaces waiting with building. By the end of this hour, you'll be angry, not at me, at the years you lost believing advice that was never designed to help you. It was designed to sell books, and the anger is useful, because anger, directed properly, becomes fuel, and you've been running on empty long enough. Let's burn the lies down, one by one. Chapter 1. The Passion Lie, the most expensive advice you ever received. Let's start with the advice itself. Follow your passion. Do what you love. Find your calling. These phrases have been repeated so many times in so many contexts by so many voices of authority that they've achieved the status of unquestioned truth. They feel true the way the earth is round feels true. You don't examine them, you just accept them. And that unquestioning acceptance is exactly what makes them so dangerous. Here's what the passion lie actually claims. Somewhere inside you, there exists a preformed, fully developed passion, a specific activity or field that you are destined to love. Your job is to discover this passion through introspection. Once discovered, this passion should be pursued as a career. And once pursued, success and fulfillment will naturally follow. Every single part of this claim is wrong. This is crucial. The passion lie rests on what psychologists call a fixed mindset about interests. The belief that interests are innate, stable, and waiting to be discovered. Research from Stanford and Yale, led by Paul O'Keefe and Carol Dweck among others, tested this belief directly. They found that people who hold a fixed theory of interest, who believe passion is something you find, are more likely to lose interest when a pursuit becomes difficult. They expect passion to feel easy. They expect it to sustain itself without effort. And when the inevitable challenges arrive, when the work gets hard and boring and frustrating, they interpret the difficulty as a sign that this isn't their real passion. So they abandon it and keep searching. For years, for decades, forever. People who hold a growth theory of interest, who believe passion is something you develop, show the opposite pattern. When difficulty arrives, they lean in. They expect challenge. They understand that deep engagement comes after competence, not before. They stick with things long enough for the satisfaction to develop. And they end up more fulfilled in their careers. Not because they found a better passion, because they had a better theory about how passion works. The research is unambiguous. Passion develops. It's not discovered. It grows through engagement, through mastery, through the process of becoming genuinely good at something and experiencing the satisfaction that competence brings. Cal Newport documented this extensively. The people who love their work didn't start with passion. They started with curiosity or opportunity or sometimes nothing more than necessity. And through years of deliberate skill building, they developed a relationship with their work that eventually became what we call passion. The passion came last, not first. Most people miss this about the timeline of passion development. It takes years, not months. Not weeks, not the duration of a weekend retreat or a 30-day challenge. Years. The research on expertise and career satisfaction suggests that genuine engagement with work, the kind of deep, energizing engagement that people call passion, typically emerges after significant competence has been developed. Some researchers point to thousands of hours of deliberate practice as the threshold. Others describe it in terms of years of sustained engagement within a domain. But the consistent finding is the same. The feeling comes late, not early. And the passion lie by telling you the feeling should come first, that you should feel the passion before you commit, ensures you never invest long enough in anything to reach the stage where the feeling actually arrives. Think about what this means for your pattern. You pick something, you try it. 3 months in, it doesn't feel like passion, it feels like work. Hard, confusing, not yet competent work. You conclude this isn't the right thing, you move on, you pick something else. 3 months in, same result. Hard, confusing, no lightning bolts of passion, you move on again. You're planting seeds, watering them for 3 weeks, seeing no fruit, concluding it's the wrong seed, ripping it out, planting another one. Repeating this cycle for years while wondering why nothing ever grows. The problem was never the seed. Every seed was fine. The problem was the expectation that passion would bloom before you'd invested the years of cultivation that any meaningful competence requires. You were abandoning careers at exactly the point where commitment starts to pay off, and the passion lie gave you permission to do it. Because if the feeling isn't there, you must be in the wrong place. Right? Wrong. You were in the right place at the wrong stage, and you left before the stage that matters arrived. Here's what actually happens in the real world when you interview people who genuinely love their careers. Almost none of them describe a moment of passion discovery. Instead, they describe a gradual process. They got into the field for practical reasons, or accidental reasons, or reasons that nothing to do with passion. They developed skills, they got better, they started being recognized for their competence. They gained autonomy. They began to shape their work conditions. And somewhere along the way, usually years in, they realized they loved it. The love wasn't the starting condition. It was the outcome of a long process that the passion lie completely obscures. Let me put a price on this lie. Calculate the years you spent searching instead of building. Every year spent waiting for passion is a year of skill development lost, a year of career capital unbuilt, a year of options uncreated. If you spent 5 years in passion paralysis, that's 5 years of compound career growth you'll never get back. Not because the years were lazy, because they were misdirected. You were solving the wrong problem. You were looking for a feeling when you should have been building a capability. And the difference between those two activities, over 5 or 10 or 20 years, is the difference between a career that gives you freedom and a career that gives you anxiety. The real reason the passion lie persists isn't that it's true, it's that it's profitable for the people selling it, career coaches, motivational speakers, self-help authors, workshop facilitators. They need you to believe that the answer is inside you and that they have the tool to extract it. If the answer were just get good at something valuable and the satisfaction will follow, there wouldn't be much to sell. Get good at something doesn't fill seminar halls. Discover your hidden passion in this 3-day retreat does. The lie isn't perpetuated by malice. It's perpetuated by economics, and you've been paying the bill. The passion lie is the headline act, but it doesn't perform alone. There's a supporting cast of lies that reinforce it, and they need to die too. Chapter 2. The Other Lies, the Supporting Cast of Career Destruction. The passion lie doesn't work in isolation. It's supported by a network of adjacent lies that reinforce each other and create a belief system so comprehensive that questioning any single piece feels like questioning everything. Let's name them all, because a cage only works if you can't see the bars. Lie number 2. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. This might be the most insidious repackaging of the passion lie because it adds an additional false promise. Not only should you find your passion, but once found, work should feel effortless, playful, joyful, like it's not even work. This is fantasy, complete, total, demonstrable fantasy. Every person who has built something meaningful will tell you that the work was hard, that there were seasons of grinding, tedious, unglamorous labor. That loving your work doesn't mean every task is enjoyable. It means the overall direction feels meaningful enough to justify the difficulty. The lie that passionate work doesn't feel like work sets you up to abandon anything that gets hard. Because hard means this isn't the right thing. Hard means you picked wrong. Hard means the passion isn't real. No, hard means you're building something, and building is supposed to be hard. This is crucial. The never work a day lie creates an impossible standard against which every real career falls short. Real work involves boredom. Real work involves tasks you don't enjoy. Real work involves frustration, repetition, administrative tedium, and stretches where you question everything. If your standard for right career is never feels like work, then no career on earth qualifies. Not the artists, not the entrepreneurs, not the athletes, nobody's. The standard itself is the trap. It ensures perpetual dissatisfaction, because reality can never match a fantasy that was designed to sell tickets to a motivational event. Lie number 3. You need to find your purpose before you can move forward. Purpose, like passion, is presented as a prerequisite for action, something you must possess before you're authorized to move. As if you're supposed to sit still in your apartment, in your journal, in your meditation cushion, until a cosmic fax machine delivers your life's purpose printed in clear, bold font, and only then do you have permission to begin building something. This framing turns purpose into a gatekeeper. And the gate never opens because purpose, as the self-help industry defines it, is vague enough to be permanently unfindable. It's always just out of reach, always requiring one more retreat, one more journal prompt, one more deep conversation, one more period of contemplation before it reveals itself. The searching feels productive. It feels like you're doing important inner work. But 5 years of searching for purpose looks exactly the same as 5 years of doing nothing. The external result is identical. The only difference is how you narrate the inaction to yourself. Most people miss this about how purpose actually develops in people who report having it. The research from organizational psychology and positive psychology tells a remarkably consistent story across decades of study. Purpose is a byproduct of contribution. You don't find purpose and then contribute. You contribute first, and then purpose emerges from the contribution. You help someone solve a problem and you feel a flicker of meaning. You build something that works and you feel a pulse of direction. You develop a skill that serves others and you feel a growing sense that this matters. Purpose is generated through engagement with the world, through creating value, through the experience of being useful, not through withdrawal from it, not through contemplation, not through journaling in isolation. The people sitting quietly waiting for purpose to arrive are doing the exact opposite of the activity that generates purpose. They're disengaging from the world that would give them the very thing they're seeking. It's like sitting in a dark room waiting for a suntan. Lie number 4. You should love Monday mornings. Social media has created a performance standard for career satisfaction that bears no resemblance to reality. You see people posting about how much they love their work, how they can't wait for Monday, how they wake up excited, how they're living their dream. And you look at your own Monday morning with the alarm and the commute and the inbox, and you think something is wrong with your career. Nothing is wrong with your career. Something is wrong with the comparison. The people performing Monday morning joy are performing. They're creating content. They're building a brand. Their excitement about Monday is often their job. Being excited about work is literally what they sell. Comparing your actual Monday to their performed Monday is comparing reality to marketing. Here's what actually happens on most Monday mornings. Are most people, including people who genuinely enjoy their work, they get up. They feel the normal resistance that every human feels when transitioning from weekend freedom to weekday structure. They go to work. They have some tasks they enjoy and some they don't. They have a moment or two of genuine engagement. They have stretches of boredom. They have interactions that energize them and interactions that drain them. They go home. That's a good Monday. That's what career satisfaction actually looks like from the inside. Not ecstasy, not dread. Somewhere in the middle, leaning toward the positive end more often than not. If your benchmark for right career is, I love every Monday morning, you've been hypnotized by someone else's marketing. Lie number 5. The right career will make you happy. This lie confuses two different things: career satisfaction and life happiness. They overlap, but they're not the same. Research on subjective well-being consistently shows that career satisfaction is one component of happiness, but it's not the whole thing. And pursuing happiness through career alone is like trying to nourish your entire body by only feeding your left arm. Your career can be meaningful, rewarding, and financially sound, and you can still be unhappy if the rest of your life is neglected. Relationships, health, community, rest, personal growth. These matter as much or more than career. But the career lie industry wants you to believe that finding the right job fixes everything. Because fix your whole life is a harder sell than fix your career. And number 6, if you're not passionate, you're settling. This is the lie that adds shame to the confusion. It's the one that makes you feel guilty for considering practical factors. It says that choosing a career based on practical considerations, based on financial viability, based on market demand, based on what you happen to be good at rather than what makes your heart sing, is somehow lesser, somehow compromised, somehow a betrayal of your potential, as if the only noble career is a passionate one. As if everyone who works a practical job and does it well and provides for their family and contributes to their community is somehow living a diminished, second-rate life. because they can't point to a burning passion that gets them out of bed every morning. This is elitism disguised as inspiration. And it's deeply damaging because it shames people out of perfectly good careers and perfectly real satisfaction. The vast majority of people in human history worked practical jobs. They grew food. They built structures. They cared for the sick. They taught children. They made things with their hands. They provided services their communities needed. And many of them found deep, genuine, lasting satisfaction in the competence itself, in the contribution itself, in the simple, unglamorous dignity of doing useful work well and being recognized as someone who could be relied upon. They didn't need to feel passionate to feel satisfied. They felt satisfied because they were good at something that mattered. That was enough. And it's still enough. The idea that satisfaction requires passion, that practical work is settling, that you're somehow failing at life unless your career makes your soul vibrate at a specific frequency, is a very recent, very Western, very privileged invention. It emerged from a culture wealthy enough to treat work as a vehicle for self-actualization, rather than survival, and it's made millions of people feel ashamed of careers that their grandparents would have been proud of. The real reason these lies survive is that they form a self-reinforcing system. Each lie supports the others. You need passion to act. You need purpose to have direction. You should love Mondays. The right career brings happiness. Anything less is settling. Together, they create impossible conditions for career movement. You can't move without passion. You can't find passion without purpose. You can't have purpose without contemplation. And contemplation produces nothing because purpose comes from action. The system is circular. It feeds itself. And you stay stuck in the center of it, spending money on the next book that promises to break the cycle while actually reinforcing it. Time to talk about what actually works, not what sounds good, what the evidence actually supports. Chapter 3: What actually works? The evidence nobody wants to hear. Here's the truth that doesn't fit on a poster. Career satisfaction is built, not found. It's built through a specific, documented, replicable process that has nothing to do with feelings and everything to do with capabilities. And the process is not romantic. It's not cinematic. It doesn't make for a good movie montage. But it works. The research converges on a clear model. Career satisfaction is primarily driven by three factors: autonomy, the degree to which you control how, when, and where you work; mastery, the sense that you are developing skill and competence in something that matters; and relatedness, the quality of your connections with the people you work with and serve. This is self-determination theory, developed by Edward Desai and Richard Ryan, and it is one of the most well-supported frameworks in motivational psychology. Notice what's missing from the list: passion, purpose, love for the specific content of your work. Those things can exist. They're pleasant when they do, but they're not the primary drivers of satisfaction. The primary drivers are structural. They're about conditions, not content, and conditions can be shaped, negotiated, built, regardless of the field you're in. This is crucial. If satisfaction comes from autonomy, mastery, and relatedness, then the path to a satisfying career isn't finding the right field. It's building enough leverage to control your conditions within whatever field you develop competence in. A software developer with autonomy, growing skills, and strong team relationships will be more satisfied than a so-called passionate artist who is micromanaged, stagnating, and isolated. The field is almost irrelevant. The conditions are everything. And conditions are earned through what Cal Newport calls career capital, the rare and valuable skills that give you bargaining power to shape your work. Let me explain how career capital works, because it's the concept that replaces the passion myth entirely. Career capital is the total value of the rare and valuable skills you bring to the marketplace. The more career capital you accumulate, the more leverage you have. And leverage is what lets you design your work conditions. Want autonomy? You need to be skilled enough that employers or clients will grant you freedom because they can't afford to lose you. Want mastery? You need to be in an environment where your skills are being stretched, which requires having enough value to access challenging work. Want meaningful connections? You need to be operating at a level where you're collaborating with people who are equally engaged. Career capital is the currency that buys all of this. And the way you accumulate career capital is through deliberate practice, not through passion, through discipline. Most people miss this about the relationship between skills and satisfaction. They think they need to find satisfying work and then they'll be motivated to develop skills. The evidence says the opposite. Develop skills first. Satisfaction follows. This feels backwards. It feels like you're selling out, like you're being told to grind through work you don't care about. But that's the passion lie still talking. It's still whispering that work should feel meaningful from day one. It shouldn't. Day one is about learning. Year one is about competence. Year three is about leverage. Year five is about conditions. And somewhere in that progression, the satisfaction that people call passion quietly arrives. Not because you found the right career, because you built the right capabilities. Here's what actually happens when you apply the career capital framework. You stop asking, what am I passionate about? And start asking, what am I willing to get good at? The second question is infinitely more useful because it's actionable. You can get good at something starting today. You can't manufacture a passion on command. The question shifts you from introspection to action, from waiting to building, from consuming self-help to developing marketable competence. And every unit of competence you build is a unit of leverage you gain. Leverage to negotiate better conditions, better pay, better autonomy, better projects, better colleagues, better everything. Let me be specific about what getting good looks like. Because this isn't about casual skill development. This isn't about dabbling. This isn't about watching YouTube tutorials and feeling like you learned something. This is about deliberate practice. The kind of focused, uncomfortable, feedback-driven skill building that separates competent professionals from exceptional ones. Anders Ericsson's decades of research on expertise showed that deliberate practice, not mere repetition, not casual engagement, not passive consumption of information, is what produces mastery. Deliberate practice has specific characteristics. You're working at the edge of your current ability, in the zone, where the task is hard enough to stretch you but not so hard that you can't complete it. You're getting immediate, specific feedback on your performance. You're identifying your weaknesses with brutal honesty and addressing them systematically. And you're doing this consistently over time. It's not fun. Let me be clear about that. Deliberate practice is not enjoyable in the moment. It's often frustrating because you're constantly confronting the gap between where you are and where you need to be. It's humbling because you're repeatedly failing and adjusting. It's mentally taxing because it requires full concentration. And it looks nothing like the passionate career the lie promised you. It looks like grinding, like repetition, like frustration followed by marginal improvement followed by more frustration. And it's the only thing that has ever built the career capital that leads to genuine, lasting, non-fantasy career satisfaction. Here's the uncomfortable truth that will save your career if you let it. The process that actually leads to a fulfilling professional life looks nothing like the fantasy the self-help industry sold you. The fantasy is discovering your passion and floating effortlessly into a career you love. The reality is choosing a valuable skill domain, grinding through the early stages of incompetence, enduring the frustration of deliberate practice, slowly building competence, using that competence to gain leverage, using that leverage to shape your conditions, and eventually arriving at a career that feels deeply satisfying. Not because the work itself is always thrilling, because the conditions you've earned, the autonomy you've negotiated, the mastery you've developed, and the relationships you've built give you a professional life that fits. The real reason this works where passion-seeking doesn't is that it's based on economics instead of feelings. The marketplace rewards rare and valuable skills, period. It doesn't care about your passion. It doesn't care about your purpose. It cares about what you can do that other people can't. And when you can do things that other people can't, you have power. The power to choose. The power to negotiate. The power to walk away from bad conditions and toward good ones. Passion-seeking gives you feelings. Career capital gives you options. And options are worth infinitely more than feelings when it comes to building a life you actually want to live. Now let's translate this from theory into the specific skills and strategies that create real career momentum. Chapter 4. The skills that actually matter. What to build instead of what to find. Now you know that career satisfaction comes from conditions, not content. That conditions are earned through leverage. That leverage comes from career capital. And that career capital is built through deliberate skill development. The question becomes practical. What skills should you actually build? Where should you direct the energy you've been wasting on passion-seeking? This chapter answers that question with specificity. Before naming the skills, let me establish a principle. The most valuable skills are the ones that are rare, difficult to acquire, and in high demand. This is basic supply and demand. If everyone can do it, it's not valuable. If it's easy to learn, everyone will learn it and the value drops. If nobody needs it, it doesn't matter how rare or difficult it is. The sweet spot is the intersection. Skills that are hard enough that most people won't put in the effort to develop them. Rare enough that the marketplace can't easily replace you. And in demand enough that someone will pay you well for them. This is crucial. The education system taught you to be a generalist, a little bit good at a lot of things. The marketplace rewards specialists and skill stackers. A specialist is someone who is exceptional at one thing. A skill stacker is someone who is good, not world-class, at 2 or 3 things that combine in an unusual way. Both approaches build career capital, but skill stacking is more accessible for most people. You don't need to be the best in the world at any single skill. You need to be good at a unique combination that few others have. A person who is decent at writing, decent at data analysis, and decent at public speaking has a combination that is rarer than being excellent at just one. And rarity is what creates leverage. Skill 1: clear communication, written and verbal. This is the skill that multiplies every other skill you have. You can be brilliant at your technical work, but if you can't communicate your ideas clearly, your brilliance stays invisible. Communication isn't just writing emails. It's the ability to take complex ideas and make them simple, to persuade, to explain, to sell in the broadest sense of that word. People who communicate clearly get promoted faster, earn more, build bigger networks, and have more career options than people who don't. And this skill is more rare than you'd think. Most people communicate at a functional level. Few communicate at a level that changes outcomes. The gap between functional and excellent is enormous and mostly unfilled. Most people miss this about communication as a career skill. It's not about talent. It's about volume and feedback. The people who communicate well do it constantly. They write regularly. They present regularly. They get feedback. They revise. They practice. Communication is a muscle, not a gift. And most people never develop it because the education system taught them that communication is about following grammatical rules rather than about moving other humans to action. Skill 2: the ability to sell, not in the manipulative, high-pressure way, in the fundamental way. Selling is the ability to understand what someone needs and present a solution in a way that makes them want to act. This applies to everything. Selling your ideas in a meeting, selling yourself in a job interview, selling a product to a customer, selling a proposal to a client, selling a vision to investors. Every career advancement involves selling something to someone. And the people who are good at it have disproportionate career options. This is the skill the education system actively taught you to disrespect. Selling was crass. Selling was for the students who couldn't get real jobs. That attitude keeps you broke and someone else rich. Here's what actually happens when you combine communication and sales ability with any technical competence. You become rare, extremely rare, because most technically competent people can't sell, and most sales-capable people lack deep technical knowledge. The combination is where leverage lives. The engineer who can present and sell has 10 times the career options of the engineer who can only engineer. The designer who can communicate value and close deals builds a practice. The one who can only design waits for someone else to find them work. Skill 3: financial literacy, understanding how money works, how businesses make money, how to read a financial statement, how compound growth functions, how to evaluate whether an opportunity is financially viable. This skill isn't just about personal finance, though that matters. It's about understanding the economic reality of whatever field you work in. The people who understand money make better career decisions because they can see which opportunities create wealth and which ones just create busyness. They negotiate better because they understand the math. They invest better because they understand risk and return. And they're less likely to get stuck in careers that underpay them because they can see the numbers clearly. Skill 4. Digital leverage. The ability to use technology to multiply your output beyond what your individual time and effort could produce alone. This could be anything from building an online audience that distributes your ideas to thousands of people simultaneously, to automating repetitive workflows so that hours of manual work happen in minutes, to creating digital products like courses, templates, tools, or content that generate value while you sleep, to using AI tools to increase your research, writing, analysis, or creative productivity by orders of magnitude. Digital leverage is what separates people who trade hours for dollars, who are capped by the number of hours in their day, from people who build systems that generate value independently of their physical presence. It's the modern equivalent of owning machinery during the Industrial Revolution. The factory owners got wealthy not because they worked harder than their employees. They got wealthy because they owned the tools of multiplication. The people who only offered their labor exchanged time for money until the time ran out or the body broke down. In the digital economy, the tools of multiplication are accessible to anyone with an internet connection and the willingness to learn them. You don't need factory capital. You need digital literacy. And almost nobody is building it deliberately because the education system never taught them that leverage, not labor, is what creates wealth and career freedom. Skill 5. Adaptability. The ability to learn new things quickly and apply them in unfamiliar contexts. In a world that changes as fast as ours, the half-life of any specific skill is getting shorter. The coding language you master today might be obsolete in 5 years. The industry you work in might be transformed by technology you haven't heard of yet. The one skill that never becomes obsolete is the ability to learn rapidly. People who can acquire new competencies quickly have permanent career security, not because their current skills are bulletproof, because they can always build new ones. This is meta-career capital, the career capital that produces more career capital. The real reason skill building beats passion seeking is sustainability. Passion is a feeling. Feelings fluctuate. Skills are permanent. Once you can communicate persuasively, that ability doesn't disappear when you have a bad week. Once you understand financial literacy, the knowledge stays. Once you've developed adaptability, the meta-skill compounds with every new domain you learn. Feelings come and go. Capabilities accumulate. And accumulated capabilities give you something that feelings never will. Choices. Real, concrete, financially backed choices about how you spend your working life. You now know what the lies are. You know what actually works. You know what skills to build. The final question is the most practical one. How do you start? From wherever you are right now, with whatever time and resources you currently have. That's where we end. Chapter 5. The Action Plan. Building instead of searching. You've spent years searching for passion, for purpose, for the right answer, for the career that would make everything click. The searching is over, not because you found the answer, Because searching was never the right activity. Building is the right activity, and this chapter is the blueprint. Before the steps, let me address the voice in your head, the one that's saying, "But what should I build toward?" That question is the passion lie's last stand. It's one more attempt to make you wait, to make you figure out the destination before you take the first step. Ignore it. You don't need a destination to start building. You need a direction. And a direction is much cheaper than a destination. A direction is, "I'm going to get better at something valuable." That's it. You can refine the direction as you go. You can change it entirely if new information emerges. But you start moving today, not after the next personality quiz, not after the next career book. Today. Step 1. Audit your existing career capital. What skills do you already have that someone would pay for, not what degrees you hold? What can you actually do? Write clearly, manage projects, analyze data, build relationships, solve technical problems, teach complex subjects, design visual materials, organize chaos. Every skill you currently possess is a piece of career capital. Most people dramatically underestimate what they already have because the education system taught them to value credentials over capabilities. Forget the credentials. List the capabilities. What do people come to you for? What do colleagues ask your help with? What can you do that seems easy to you but hard to others? That gap between easy for you and hard for others is the map to your most valuable existing capital. This is crucial. You are not starting from zero. The narrative that a career change means starting over is another lie. You have years of accumulated skills, relationships, perspectives, and domain knowledge. Those things don't disappear when you change direction. They transfer. They combine with new skills in unexpected ways. They give you advantages that someone who actually is starting from zero doesn't have. The person who spent 10 years in finance and then moves into consulting brings financial expertise that pure consultants lack. The person who spent a decade teaching and then moves into corporate training brings pedagogical skills that business people don't have. Your past isn't a sunk cost. It's a foundation. And foundations are built on. Step 2. Identify one high-value skill gap and fill it. Look at the 5 skills from the previous chapter: communication, sales, financial literacy, digital leverage, adaptability. Where are you weakest? Not where are you least interested. Where are you weakest relative to where improvement would create the most career leverage? Pick one. Not the one that sounds most exciting or most fun. The one where improvement would create the most impact in your current professional situation. If you're technically strong but can't present your ideas effectively in meetings or writing, communication is your gap. It's the bottleneck preventing your technical brilliance from being visible. If you have great ideas and solid execution, but no audience and no reputation, digital leverage is your gap. You're doing excellent invisible work. If you're doing valuable work but consistently getting paid less than you're worth and accepting it, sales and negotiation is your gap. You're leaving money and leverage on the table every single day. Pick the gap, commit to filling it, not casually, not as a hobby, not as something you'll get to when you have free time. Free time doesn't exist. There's only time you allocate deliberately and time that disappears into your phone. Commit with the same intensity you'd bring to a course that cost you $10,000, because the skill you're developing is worth more than any course you've ever paid for. Read the 3 best books on the subject, not 10 books. 3. Read them actively with a pen in your hand, extracting principles and immediately practicing them. Practice the skill daily, even if it's only 30 minutes. Seek feedback from people who are better than you. Track your improvement, not with feelings, with evidence. Give yourself 6 months of consistent work, not 6 weeks. The passion lie trained you to expect results fast. The truth is that competence develops over months of deliberate effort. Be patient with the timeline, while being absolutely impatient with the daily practice. Most people miss this about skill development. It feels irrelevant at first. You're studying negotiation tactics and it doesn't feel like it's changing your career. You're practicing writing clearly and nobody seems to notice. You're learning financial principles and your paycheck hasn't changed. This is the valley, and the valley is where most people quit. They expected the skill to produce results immediately because the passion lie trained them to expect instant feelings. Skills don't produce instant results. They produce compound results. The improvement is invisible day to day and staggering year to year. The person who spends a year deliberately improving their communication will be in a fundamentally different career position 12 months from now. Not because they found their passion, because they built a capability that the marketplace rewards. Step 3. Create proof of your skills. Nobody cares what you know. They care what you can demonstrate. This is one of the hardest lessons for people raised in the education system, where knowledge was the product and grades were the proof. In the real world, knowledge without demonstration is invisible, and invisible capabilities don't create opportunities. Proof is the bridge between what you can do and what the world knows you can do. And that bridge is what turns career capital into actual career options. If you've developed communication skills, start a blog, a newsletter, a podcast, a YouTube channel, a LinkedIn presence where you publish regularly. Something that demonstrates in public your ability to communicate clearly, persuasively, and consistently. If you've developed financial literacy, write analyses that people can read. Build financial models that people can use. Share insights publicly that demonstrate your understanding. If you've developed sales ability, track your results meticulously. Document your wins with specific numbers. Build case studies that show the before and after. Proof does 2 things simultaneously. First, it builds your reputation, which creates opportunities that would never have found you otherwise. People can't hire you, refer you, or partner with you for skills they don't know you have. Second, it forces you to actually practice the skill in public, under real conditions, with real stakes, which accelerates your development far beyond what private practice alone could achieve. Private practice builds competence. Public proof builds career capital. And career capital is what gives you the leverage to shape your work and your life on your own terms. Step 4. Use your capital to negotiate better conditions. This is where the framework pays off. Once you have rare and valuable skills demonstrated through public proof, you have leverage. Use it. Negotiate for more autonomy, for flexible hours, for project selection, for remote work, for a raise, for a promotion, for a better title, for whatever conditions matter most to your satisfaction. If your current employer won't give you better conditions, your career capital makes you mobile. You can take your skills to an employer who will, or to a client who will, or to your own business where you set all the conditions yourself. Career capital is portable. It's not tied to one job, it's tied to you. And wherever you go, it goes with you. Here's what actually happens when someone follows this framework for 2 to 3 years. They develop a valuable skill stack. They build public proof. They gain leverage. They shape their work conditions. And somewhere in this process, usually around year 2, something shifts. The work starts to feel engaging, not because they found their passion, because the conditions are right. Autonomy creates ownership. Mastery creates flow. Contribution creates meaning. And the feeling that the passion lie promised, that deep satisfaction with your work, actually arrives. Not as a starting point, as a reward. A reward for building instead of searching, for investing instead of wandering, for being strategic instead of emotional. Step 5. Repeat the cycle. Career building is not a one-time project, it's a practice. Build skills, create proof, gain leverage, shape conditions, then identify the next gap and do it again. The marketplace evolves, your interests evolve, your needs evolve. The conditions that satisfied you at 30 won't be the same conditions that satisfy you at 40 or 50. So you keep building, keep adapting, keep compounding. The people with the most fulfilling, financially rewarding, long-lasting careers aren't the ones who found the right answer once. They're the ones who kept building the right capabilities continuously. The real reason this works is that it puts you in control. The passion lie makes you dependent on a feeling you can't manufacture. This framework makes you dependent on effort you can control. You can't control when passion arrives. You can control whether you practice communication today. You can control whether you study financial literacy this week. You can control whether you publish proof this month. And everything you can control is something you can improve. Improvement compounds. And compounded improvement over years is what creates a career that other people look at and mistakenly call passion. It was never passion, it was always capital, BUI. LT deliberately, over time, through effort that nobody filmed and nobody applauded, until the results became impossible to ignore. Let me tell you what happens now. You close this audiobook. The ideas sit in your mind for a few hours, maybe a few days. They feel sharp and true and urgent. And then the old programming starts humming again. The passion lie is deeply installed. It's been running for years. It won't die from 1 hour of counter-programming. It'll whisper. But what if there really is a passion out there and you just haven't found it yet? But what if skill building without passion leads to a soulless career? But what if the successful people really did follow their passion, and you're the exception? Those whispers are the lie's immune system. They exist to protect the belief from the evidence that threatens it. Recognize them for what they are. Not wisdom, not intuition, programming. Old, expensive, results-free programming that has kept you stuck and kept the self-help industry profitable. Here's what most people will do. They'll agree with this audiobook. They'll tell a friend about it. They'll feel a temporary clarity. And they'll do absolutely nothing different tomorrow. Because doing something different is uncomfortable. Because building skills is slower than buying a book about finding passion. Because the passion lie offers the seductive fantasy that somewhere out there, There's a career that feels like a permanent vacation, and who wouldn't want to keep believing in that? The framework doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about your actions. And actions are the only thing that has ever built a career worth having. You're telling yourself you need to figure out which skill to start with, that you need to research your options, that you need to plan properly before you begin. That's the paralysis putting on a planning costume. Pick a skill, the one that would create the most leverage in your current situation, and start building it tomorrow morning, not perfectly, not with a comprehensive plan, just start. Read one chapter of one book on that skill. Practice for 30 minutes. Do it again the next day. And the next, for 6 months, without dramatic announcements, without social media posts about your journey, without anyone's permission or approval. 6 months from now, you'll have something the passion line never gave you in all the years you believed it. A capability. A real, demonstrable, marketable capability that gives you options you don't currently have. Options to negotiate, options to move, options to build something of your own, options to say no to conditions that don't serve you. And options are the real currency of career satisfaction, not feelings, not revelations, not motivational quotes framed on your desk. Not the warm glow of a weekend workshop that fades by Wednesday. Options. Concrete, skill-backed, leverage-creating options that nobody can take from you because they live inside your capabilities, not inside someone else's approval. Follow your passion is bullshit. It always was. Build your capital is the truth. It always was. One of them kept you stuck for years, spending money and time on the search for a feeling that was supposed to arrive before the work. The other will set you free, one skill at a time, one day of practice at a time, one unit of career capital at a time. Slowly, unsexy, without a single motivational poster to commemorate the journey, but free. Stop searching. Start building today, not tomorrow, not Monday, not after you finish the next book about finding your purpose. Today, the building is the purpose, the capital is the passion, and the years you wasted searching are the tuition you already paid for this lesson. A class dismissed. Get to work.